Hello everyone, Toll here with another look behind the scenes at how we put these videos together. Today I'm working on the mini-sode titled The Crate, and last time I did one of these behind the scenes looks, I showed you some of what we had to deal with in the filming process. So today I'm going to show you what I do during the sound design part of the process. Now, I use two different editing software, Vegas and Premiere Pro, and Vegas is my go-to for sound design for reasons I may or may not get into. Now the first thing you can see here is we're working on defectiveness and girliness. Those are our working names for them. Yes, the characters do have names. No, I'm not going to tell you what they are yet. We'll get to that. Trust me. Anyway, the first problem we have here is the sound levels for defectiveness are way louder than girliness, and that's because of the way the performers format their audio settings when they're recording. Sometimes I get them a little bit louder, sometimes I get them a little bit quieter, but the important thing is to get them all at similar levels in the episode. So to make that easier, I have this set up so that I can just open it up in my audio editor, and I have a bunch of presets that I run here. First thing I do is I look for some dead noise. Now this quiet spot lets us get the noise profile and then run a noise reduction. So I'm going to do this 2 or 3 times to get rid of absolutely as much noise as possible, because if I only do one pass, then it tends to leave little traces behind. And then when I go and do the next steps, it causes a little bit of distortion, and we don't want that. Now, every time I run another pass, I grab a new profile for the noise reduction from a different segment of the audio. That way it's not trying to take the same thing out over and over and distorting the audio even more. It's just looking for less and less every single time. Okay, so we've run our noise compression, and now we are going to use compressed dynamics. And what this is going to do is take all the high levels and make them low, take all the low levels and make them a little high, and just bring everything up to sort of a standard level. You know how sometimes whenever you're watching TV shows you think, wow, this part's really super quiet, I can barely hear what they're saying. Wow, this part's really super loud, now I need to turn the TV down. This is meant to try and kind of prevent that. Now you can see it raised all the audio a certain amount. Let's see how that sounds.
Not much of a camp. Nothing over here makes a lick of sense.
Alright, very clean. So, at this point, I want to make sure that everything's normalized to about the same levels as everything else. Now, my standard for everything is -3 decibels, and the reason for that is 0 is right at the cusp of distortion for recording levels, and also it can cause a little bit of discomfort to listeners. So -3 gives me a little bit of room to play with the levels. So now I've got everything cleaned up, I've got it normalized, got it compressed, we just export. Now the great thing about Vegas and most editing software that references the file instead of just modifying it is if you leave the file name the same and the file format the same, it just replaces it. And once it's done, you can close out of Audacity, go back to the file, and see that the file updates with the new format. So now those are still...
Not much.
Those still look...
Well, look, see here.
rather a lot lower than this file, so hang on a sec. So that right there is why I have standardized settings. When I plugged that in here and looked at them side by side, I saw the waveforms on what I'd already worked on were way too high, so I went in there, saw I forgot to normalize it when I did it before, and fixed it real quick. I just realized before this part I was sat a little further back and was really washed out, so I'm sorry about that. I'll try to fix it in post. So now we're up to the important part, which is actually getting the audio that we want in place in the project. Now working on this, I've got the script side by side so I can figure out what the attitude is of the scene and go piece by piece, work out what I want. The first thing I got to do is figure out how many takes I was given, listen to them all, and pick the best one. So I'm basically going to grab those and trim them down for speed. All right, now that I've got them all isolated, it starts to get a little bit more tedious. I have to listen through each of these and find the pieces that I like best out of each one. I don't have to do that. A lot of people just find the best take, but I admit I'm a bit of a perfectionist, so over time I've learned how to take the pieces and Frankenstein together into what sounds the best. You can see I've done that with some of the lines up here. They get a little bit more complicated as we move along. This one actually has clips from 4 different places. Sometimes it's removing dead space, and sometimes it's actually just stitching things together so they sound better. Now I've narrowed it down to my top 3 choices. All of these sound good, but there's some parts of one that I like better than some parts of the others. And so what I'm going to do here is cut the best pieces and stitch them together. For instance, the first part of the line is she's being dismissive, so when we were recording the audio, I told her to scoff. And she gave me a few different versions of that. She gave me this.
Not much of a camp.
Wait, no. Is there a scoff here? Yeah, she gave me that one, this one, and this one. Now this one is the one that I like the best. It's through the nose, it sounds less forced. So that's the one I'm going to keep. Then the next part of the line, not much of a camp.
Not much of a camp. Not much of a camp. Not much of a camp.
So as it happens, I like these two pieces together. So we got the first part of it. Now things start getting a little bit more tricky. Because I like the way all three of these sound, but I don't like the way all three of these sound.
Nothing over here makes a lick of sense. Nothing over here makes a lick of sense. Nothing over here makes a lick of sense.
So we start Frankensteining a little bit. Here, I like this part.
Makes a lick of sense.
First part can go bye-bye. Next thing I like best is the beginning of the last part.
Nothing over here makes a...
Split it in about the same spot. Swing them together, and what have we got?
Nothing over here makes a lick of sense.
Alright, now that doesn't quite sound right, so I'll do a little bit of playing. Think, getting rid of the first part of makes here, and pulling it back here, and making sure we've got a little bit of overlap so it doesn't fall into silence. Now let's try that.
Nothing over here makes a lick of sense.
That I like. So that's the part that we're going to use. And then we do the same again with the rest of the line. And there we go, that's all set. And then we just got to time it to the line we already have. Now I'm not going to show you this process for the entire rest of the video because that is over 25 minutes of audio that I'm not going to make you sit through. So we're going to cut to the next part right now. Hi, back again. I just wanted to use this audio that I just finished working on to demonstrate something I personally find rather interesting. So here is a basic take, one of the first takes that I got from Pixel, who plays this character.
Right. He doesn't talk, and you can hear him.
Now that's just flat exposition. It doesn't do anything for the character, it's just, at best, she sounds bored. But after taking the best pieces that I like to interpret the character, I think a little bit better, I came over to this, ended up with these clips, and then you can see I adjusted the pacing on them to make it more match what I perceive her character to be. Have a listen.
Right. He doesn't talk, and you can hear him.
Now that sounds disbelieving, sounds condescending, sounds snarky, a little bit sassy. It adds something to the character. So just by changing the inflection, the tonality of certain things, and adjusting the spacing, making it a little more brisk, a little more military, as you would expect from one of the Nest clones, it sounds that much better. And this is what I do. I do this for practically every line, every character, every episode that I edit. So I'm gonna stop talking now and keep going. And there you have it. One full audio track with Girly Ness's audio all sorted out. So now all I gotta do is make sure all of my effects are in place for every track of audio, export them all separately, and then scooch them over to the other software, Premiere, and stitch the video pieces onto it. So let's get to that. Actually, no, we'll cover that part some other time. I will get back to you when I'm up to the sound effects. Alright guys, we're back. The video has been edited, and I have figured out my lighting situation. Finally, it only took me several months. But anyway, we're here so I can show you some of the things that we normally have to do when we're creating an episode for you guys. Now, one of the common things that a lot of people might not realize is that we don't use any in-game sounds. When we cut the video over to our audio, all of the background noise goes away, like in this scene here. So, the first thing we're going to have to do is create some background noise, which it happens I have a whole repository of sound effects from all of the months I've been doing this. Actually, it's been about a year now. Wow. So the first thing we want is some ambient noise. Ambient, however you want to say it. And as you can see, I've got several. So we take our sound and we just pop it into place. So we've got this background noise, and this is actually going to persist for pretty much the whole thing. The reason I picked this part is because this is one of the more complicated shots of the entire thing. Let's analyze what's happening here. We've got the gun, charging, firing, impacting, and those two turning. So we need sound effects for everything that makes that work. So the first thing is laser beam sound effect that I made for the first Instant Survival Shelter Box sketch. I just have it fade as it charges up. And there we go. And here is a blaster shot that came off of freesound.org. Boop. Sounds good. Might be a little loud, so here's what we'll do. We'll change the pitch a little. And then just for fun, we'll give it a little bit of echo. Because they're in a big valley, the shot's gonna echo. I mean, it makes sense, right? And there you go. Got a little bit of echo, like you might hear from the foothills in the space that they're in. So now, we need an impact noise for the beam. Here's another free sound file, bullet hit car. And you're not going to find things that exactly match what you're listening to or looking for, but you're going to find something pretty close, and you can adjust it to make it what you want it to be. And there we go. So then there's the second part of this scene, which is the unique challenge we have in this episode specifically, and that is Silent Ness. So the thing about Silent Ness is he doesn't talk much. So we have to make some sounds that really sell who he is, or that he's trying to communicate, because that's all he's really got. So I am a fan of Foley sound effects. If you're not aware, it's sounds that you make yourself. So what I'm going to be doing is with these leather gloves, my very own Ness gloves, I'm going into Audacity, I'm going to be recording some custom sounds. I'm just going to record a few various interactions of my gloves with each other. I'm going to pick the best ones, I'm going to match them up to this guy. Alright, so we've got our sound. Now we just need to raise the levels a bit. Export as. And so here we are. I've got these leather sounds. I've got an angry looking Ness. I'm going to play around with these until I find something that works. So here, just for this part already, the swipes, the frustrated swipes that I made, or the aggressive swipes that I made at the end of the recording, match up almost perfectly. Barely had to do anything to them.
He's gonna be a minute.
And there you go. That's a quick look at some of the things that we do in the sound design part of the process of making these episodes for you. I hope you guys enjoyed watching it, and I really hope you enjoyed this episode. I don't know if it's gonna be good yet. I hope it is. I still haven't done it, so I'm gonna let you guys go and get back to it. Anyway, have a nice day. Bye-bye!